Hey everybody, how's it going? Welcome back to Cosmic Culture, the channel where we're talking about all major movie and television news, theories, breakdowns, and more. And today we have a fun fan casting for you, whereas Megan Fox has recently come out and said she would love to join the MCU or the DC universe and get involved in these superhero roles. And that's not something that big actors or actresses are always looking to do, because if we're being completely honest, being a character in the MCU or in the DC universe carries a weight and a burden that makes it probably very difficult to pull off, because these characters have already been created and are already loved by so many fans. When you're given the task as an actress or an actor to bring these characters to life, there is definitely a lot of room for scrutinizing and for failures. We actually got a really good look at what it might be like to go in and do a Marvel movie versus a different movie from Owen Wilson during the press junket for Loki. When they asked him what was it like to get into the big, huge Marvel arena, he was actually very surprised. And Owen Wilson is one of the biggest actors out there. So when you take an actor like that and bring him into the MCU in its entirety, it is a new experience. He was talking about how all of the secretness and hiding things behind doors and nothing was very clear at times. He didn't really know what was going on, and he didn't understand why until he experienced the fan base. And then it all kind of hit him and it became clear. Also, they were talking about him failing and not doing a good job, and if that was scary. And he talked about how Tom Hiddleston actually gave him what they called Loki lectures, and he taught him how to be an actor in the MCU, and it was a really cool experience for him, and it was cool to listen to and see an actor of that caliber come into the MCU and kind of need to start over and learn how to act in that specific realm. So with that being said, Megan Fox has said she has interest in joining the DC Universe or the MCU. And here are the top 5 picks in either universe that I think she would be the best for that character. So I'm going to go from 5 to 1, my least favorite to my most favorite, but all of these are pretty good picks, I think. So if she were to play any of these in the MCU or in the DC universe, I would be pretty okay with that. My first one actually comes from the MCU, and I think she could play a very believable and a very well brought out Mystique. Yeah, Mystique from the X-Men. I think it would be a very cool character for her to do. Obviously, they're going to be revitalizing this character, starting her over from the last actress to play her, who was actually Jennifer Lawrence. So there are a lot of options for who could play this character. She is a huge Marvel character and an infamously powerful one who I will anticipate whoever will be taking on the mantle of Mystique in the MCU would be around for a long time. Now, if you're an actress and you're saying I'd like to be involved in the MCU or in the DC universe, you're asking for a lifetime role, and I feel like that's pretty clear to you, and that's why a lot of actors who were already in the X-Men universe, like Hugh Jackman, for instance, who we know met with Kevin Feige, talking about a possible return for him as Logan, and he said no. If you had asked me, 5-10 years ago, sure, I'd be in for it, but he's put the character to bed. Lifetime acting characters like that is a huge commitment. So if that's what she's looking for, Mystique would be a great pick. She's going to be around for a long time once she finally makes her way into the MCU, and I think she could play this character super, super well. Number 4, now this is a DC Universe character, and I think she would be super fun to have introduced to the DC Universe, and this is none other than Donna Troy. Now, for those of you who don't know who Donna Troy is, in some comic versions, she's actually the daughter of Wonder Woman and Steppenwolf. Yes, Steppenwolf as in the bad guy from the Justice League movie that they chopped his head off and kicked him through the door. The bad guy, yeah. So Steppenwolf and Wonder Woman have a daughter named Donna Troy. She's extremely powerful and a very, very cool character in the DC universe. And on top of that, she actually resembles Megan Fox in a lot of her comic book editions very, very closely. So a cool, strong character, a heroine who's very capable. And Megan Fox is a strong-willed actress who has a strong personality, who in a lot of her different movies plays a character that doesn't need to be saved, doesn't need to be helped, but is usually very self-sufficient. So Donna Troy would actually be a very cool addition, and I would love to see this character make her way into the DC universe. Number 3, and I have another mutant for you from the MCU who I think she could play very well and is also one who will be up and coming in the MCU potentially, or could be rather, due to her connection to the Marvels, like Captain Marvel or Miss Marvel, and that would be none other than Rouge, who is a very, very, very powerful character, a very powerful mutant, who in my mind has an undoubtable entrance in the MCU at some point. Now, she does have a notable rivalry with Captain Marvel, so she would play a very important role moving forward in that side of the franchise. We know the Marvels movie is coming up, where they're going to be talking about all of the Captain Marvel, Miss Marvel characters who will be involved in the MCU down the road. Now, when Captain Marvel originally came out, Kevin Feige talked about how intrepidly important she was to the future of the MCU, and we're going to have to wait and see how all of that plays out. But overall, one of the more powerful mutants there are out there, and definitely somebody capable of wielding a very, very powerful actress, and that could be Miss Megan Fox. Number 2, and that brings us in fact to the DC Universe and to a fan cast that is already very, very highly sought after by fans, and that would be Megan Fox to join the DC Universe as Poison Ivy. Now, we know that Poison Ivy is kind of a fan favorite right now, especially coming off of the adult cartoon series Harley Quinn, where Harley Quinn and Poison Ivy have a very cool on-screen presence, and overall I know a lot of fans want that to come into the live action movies or any live action TV shows that might be happening. And then of course, on top of that, Margot Robbie specifically has reached out within the last few months and told us that she pushes the DC executives very frequently to have Poison Ivy share the screen with her. So it's potentially possible we could get Margot Robbie and Poison Ivy, or Margot Robbie's Harley Quinn and Poison Ivy, to share a screen and to have that friendship or that relationship, however they decide to go, kind of bloom in a really, really cool way. On top of that, I think that Megan Fox would make a very good visual appearance as Poison Ivy. She looks like she could fit that role very, very well, and she definitely has the bravado and the confidence that this character generally possesses. Poison Ivy is a very powerful character in the DC universe, very capable and very independently sprung, especially off of a lot of the newer versions that this character has been given. There are definitely some instances in the comics where the character is a little bit more shy and a little bit more hidden away because of her abilities and because of what she looks like, this green skin, and it makes her a little bit more of a quieter character. However, in more recent renditions, like in this Harley Quinn show or in other new comic book series, she's a lot more confident, a lot more independent, and a very capable individual. And I don't think there's any doubt that any of us would be interested in seeing Megan Fox and Margot Robbie share the screen together. That would be pretty cool. So that's my second pick. My first pick, however, is a Marvel character that you may not actually know of, and she belongs to the Midnight Suns. The Midnight Suns is a super cool group of heroes in the MCU who fame themselves on being monster hunters and often include Doctor Strange, Ghost Rider, Blade, Morbius, and many, many others. It's a very cool group of heroes, but also part of this group is one character who is called Elsa Bloodstone. Now, Elsa Bloodstone is the daughter of the immortal monster hunter Ulysses Bloodstone. Elsa was raised to follow in her father's footsteps. The Bloodstone family is one of the only groups keeping the Marvel Universe safe from supernatural threats, thus making Elsa a perfect candidate for the Midnight Suns, for whom she quickly established herself as a vital member. She is an absolute badass of a character, super, super strong and self-supportive, doesn't really need anybody else. Like it said here, the daughter of an immortal monster hunter and capable of helping the Marvel Universe rid the monsters. Now, since it seems like in Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness, we might actually get an introduction to this character line, to the Midnight Suns, it would be really cool if a little bit down the ways, once the group is actually developed, Megan Fox came in and joined, and we actually had this character played by her. I would love to see Elsa Bloodstone join the MCU in any way, but to have her join and be played by Megan Fox, again, we're going to talk about her character's very strong confidence and her ability to be on her own and take care of business. She doesn't really require a mentor or anybody watching over her. And that's the kind of character that Megan Fox is capable of playing. Somebody independent, somebody who takes care of herself. And I think this would be a really cool fit to see Megan Fox join the monster hunters of the MCU. So that would be my number 1 pick. However, across these 5, all of them would be really cool for me to see. So, of course, you know what you need to do. Go down to the comments and let me know which of these 5 you like the most, and who else do you think she could play very well in either the DC Universe or in the MCU. Guys, thank you so much for watching to the very end of the video. This was a really fun little fan cast. Love doing this, guys. So comment what you thought, comment what you think. I'd love to get and interact with all of you. Make sure you subscribe to the channel, guys. We're posting major movie and television news daily here, and we've got live shows, watching Loki, watch parties, as well as a live show every Saturday called Culture Catch Up, where we talk about all major movie news from the week in one convenient show. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you in the next one right here on Cosmic Culture.